it's James.
Hello, mate.
I've fitted a few shower trays in my time and done a few videos on them talking about all the problems that you get with shower trays leaking down the back. So we're going to show you how to do this one properly so that it doesn't leak. And the first thing we've got to do is bed it down. Now, this is going down on the 22mm chipboard, which is a water resistant chipboard. A lot of the time they say put it down on ply, but because these joists are close together, there's no give at all. There's no flexing in this at all. And what we've done is given it a coat of SBR so that it's primed up. So we can now stick the tray down. Now, normally I would say, you know, stick them down on sand and cement weak base, which is a bit of a pain to be honest, but a lot of people don't do that and they find the tray cracks. And the reason that happens is because the back of the tray is not flat. You know, a lot of the time they don't mill them across the back. They're cast resin if you like, and they're just a bit up and down. So you have to bed them in sand and cement to take out any unevenness. But this is a Mira Flight tray, which is on a completely different league to the others. I love these trays. In fact, this is almost the only one I fit. And the reason I love them is that they got all this reinforcement in here everywhere. So you can put this on legs, you can raise it up just by putting feet into these little holes here. So you can see that actually you don't need to support it because it's got enough structural integrity in it. So the thing about putting sand and cement on doesn't now apply. All we've got to do is put silicone on and just put it down all these ribs and make sure that it's supported that way, and it will be fine. But of course we need to know that the floor's level, and that's the other reason why sand and cement is good, because if your floor is a little bit sloping, you can level it up with sand and cement. James has gone to great lengths to make sure that everything's spot on with this building. He built it, so he's made sure it's good and it is level every way. So the fall is in the tray basically. You don't need to tilt the tray up to make it work. The fall is in the tray. So that's going to be the first thing we're doing. I just mentioned this waste. He's put the waste in. It's got solvent weld there, so there's no mechanical screw there, nothing to come loose there. Made a great job of that. And this is one of these vortex wastes. And the idea of a vortex waste is it kind of sucks the water out. It doesn't just rely on the flow. It means that it can take a power shower. It can take a higher volume of water, even though it's a low profile tray. And you might think the water will spill over the edge. Because of its vortex waste, you can get a higher flow rate. The only thing about a vortex waste, because of the way it's constructed, it's got a couple of screws in there. And I don't like that. I actually prefer the McAlpine where you just screw it down with the top ring. If you're careful and you don't over tighten it, you'll be fine. Make sure that you get a Torx screwdriver and you just make sure you don't do it up any more than the recommended. Read the instructions, follow them, you'll be fine.
Got a freebie in there.
How did that end up there?
Must have been in the back of a plumber's van.
So we're using this Classi seal. It's a very sticky substance that they put on it. And once that's on there, that is on there, believe me. So that's nicely stuck on there. And now we're just going to upend it. Should we upend it?
Yeah.
Be careful, you've got to be careful of the corners. Let's get that corner on. It's not quite long enough to do the job. So what we probably should have done is started this end, because this is the more critical end, and by the time we get to there we're in the dry. So all is not lost, because although we're a little bit short there is a piece in the box.
Saved by the sample.
Look at this stuff, it's so sticky. So what are you using, James?
For OB1, yeah, a polymer, way more than the job needs.
Yeah. Okay.
Silicon's absolutely fine, but I've got a tube of this. I'll just give all this a wipe down, make sure there's no dust on there. Because as good as that polymer is, you still want it to be fairly dust free, so we get good adhesion on the back of the tray, not only to the floor, because we've SBR'd the floor, we just want to make sure the back of the tray's got well stuck to the polymer adhesive as well.
So if this is the floor here, you can see that that's where the floor touches, but it doesn't touch on those corners unless you put a big thick wadge on there, but I don't think it's actually necessary. I don't think anybody's standing on those corners. Stick it on the ribs.
I think just put just a little dot there, because if it was unsupported here, then these would be the only supports, so it can't do any harm, I suppose.
Quite a bit to make up there, really. There's 5 mil.
Yeah, plus whatever you put on there.
The bottom line is I've never had one of these Mira Flights crack on me. I've never had any any trouble with them. They cost a bit more than the other trays, but I think they're worth it, quite honestly. And you can see that they've actually ground that off as well at the bottom, because this is another place you often get problems with it leaking, is where the rubber washer that goes into from the waste goes onto the tray isn't sitting flat on there, and you can see that somebody's been around this with a little sander and just taken off anything that looks like a high spot. So that basically that rubber washer will now squash onto there.
They've definitely spent as much time on the back as they have on the front.
Yeah, this is it. And as I say, a lot of those resin cast ones, they come out of the mould, and I've put a level across the back of them, and you can see like they're up and down.
Well, I fitted one 2 nights ago actually for a friend of mine.
Did you?
A resin one, and it was, well, I did it in sand and cement.
Yeah.
Not only was the floor horrendous, so was the tray.
Was it?
Yeah. I ended up using 2 bags. I thought 1 bag of sand would be plenty, but I ended up knocking nearly 2 bags up.
Goodness.
The floor, it was an old Victorian house, so the floor was well out of level. Somewhere to put your fingers in when we're putting it down.
Tell you what, mate, if you ever have to get that tray up, it's going to be a job, isn't it?
I think we're there.
Lovely job. Just a little bit of paper on the floor, James.
Yeah.
It's yours, James.
Yep.
That's it, that's tight, isn't it?
That is it.
How's the waist lining up? Alright, that washer's in there.
Perfect. Just over a little bit, it's just sitting on top of that floor, and pull that corner up a little bit if we can.
It's tricky. You wouldn't believe the thickness of this tape. That's it, lovely.
That's it.
Mate. Do you know what? There's trays I wouldn't attempt that with, quite honestly, because that is tight on that floor, isn't it?
Yeah. I laid the tray in dry.
Oh, and they cut it.
I put a 3mm packer all around the edges, and then the flooring guys cut the Condine to the tray.
So that 3mm is basically the thickness of that Classi seal tape. They say just pinch up a little bit of extra, just so that it sits into that corner, because it's tight now. If you do it the other way, it's baggy.
We're all right in this situation because our tiles are quite thick. Yeah. So even if it came off 4 or 5mm, the next tile will cover that still.
Yeah.
And it's only on that bottom 4 inches, so I think we're fine. This fits into our corner, so we can put it in the entire way up the corner. If there's any flex in these walls, which there's highly likely to be because this is a timber frame, so it's a lot more likely to have a bit of movement than a traditional brick built.
What you've used here is a cement-based tile backing board, yeah?
Yeah.
You might have used the elements board like you did in the other rooms, except for the fact that getting 2 sheets of it is like 40 quid delivery from the merchant. So it's
also, I think this will help with the racking of the building, because we've got a similar product on the outside, a render carrier board, which is a cement based board like this. So this is going to help reduce some of that flex.
Okay, got it.
So I think that was probably our favoured board for this situation.
It's structural almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just enough to finish off. So there's a lot of different people making this stuff, but it's basically just beautiful blue rubber type waterproofer that you could actually tank with this stuff alone without the membrane. But the good thing about this, rather than tile adhesive, is that tile adhesive is a little bit less flexible than this. Even flexible tile adhesive, not as flexible as this gear. Snap it on, we're not Adrian. By the way, Adrian, this is not your brush.
Don't tell him that.
It's not one of your purdies. I've got to make a bit of a rule, James, alright? You've got to help me here.
Go on.
We need to read the instructions for things before we do it.
Yeah, it does help sometimes.
Because I just read them and it says pinch it in the corner. It's a modification they've made based on feedback from people, you know, because you can't get that tile in there into the corner.
It's already like this.
I remember you doing this before, it's really good.
Yeah, it's just easier than trying to put a whole corner in one go.
Yeah, it's like wallpaper and technique. Good idea, good tip that, 2-minute tip.
2-minute tip.
Fold it up, another 2-minute tip, put enough adhesive on to cover the tape. This is the bit I missed, James.
It's alright.
Yeah, I think it's better to do it like that than it is to,
you know, you got a decent,
slap it all over the place.
Decent bit under the edge.
Any water gets up there would be doing something very wrong.
I'll wait until that's dry and I'll cut that off with a knife.
Yeah.
If the water gets up there, I'll put the shower head on the wrong way up.
So that's it, that's basically all it needs to make a totally waterproof shower. And if you think about it, how much time has that taken for us to do this? And yeah, okay, it's a little bit extra in materials, but really there's no excuse in this day and age for putting in showers without this kind of belt and braces approach, because it's misery. You know, if the shower starts leaking and it's got to be taken out and the tiles have got to be hacked off and whatever manky stuff people are using behind the tiles rather than a proper tile backing board, you know, it's just not worth it. It really isn't worth it. That's a perfect belt and braces job. Took a few minutes extra and we can be absolutely sure that this shower tray is never going to cause any problems for them. So the last thing we're going to do, we're just going to put a bit of membrane around this shower valve. Now, this is actually more or less in the dry area of the shower, so it won't get a lot of water, but we've got a bit of this stuff left over, so we might as well do it while we're here.
I'm doing it like one of them guys that puts up the billboard signs.
I always fancied that job when I was a kid. I used to see that and think, oh, I don't know why, I liked it. And an element of climbing involved in it.
Yeah.
You got yourself a new recruit. What's going on here? You keep adding staff.
Yeah, this is Sam. He got in touch a few weeks ago actually because he's quite interested in building for some reason. I don't know why, but I think he's after a career change. So yeah, I said come along, give you a couple of days to see how he gets on, and maybe we'll take him on.
Yeah. What do you do at the moment, Sam?
I'm a carbon and energy consultant.
What?
Where we basically add up big companies' carbon footprints. So
really?
Yeah, we firstly sort of work them out, how big is the carbon footprint, and then we help them reduce it. So I thought that it could be potentially quite a creative job in the sense of lots of strategies around how you might decarbonise companies and their operations. But it turned out that a lot of the work at the moment is a carbon accounting. And actually, I'm not really an accountant. And I just didn't really expect it to be like that. So
it's been a number crunching, basically.
A lot of number crunching, a lot of spreadsheets, and that's great work. But it's not quite my bag, and I've realised that. I think the main thing is that I've realised I'm not a desk worker.
Do you know what? I mean, that's a great thing to realise. I mean, I realised that very, very early on. I didn't want to be indoors. I didn't want to be sitting at a desk. In fact, I did a couple of years in an office, and I absolutely hated it. And I got to the end of the week, I was sitting in the office, I got to the end of the week and I thought, we haven't had a laugh.
Yeah.
Nobody in this office has laughed this week. There wasn't, it's like, you know, on site, all day long, you're just laughing. You know, James can't stop.
I'll never stop laughing, even when it's all going wrong. That's the best time to laugh.
You're just going to give us a couple of days here, or James a couple of days here, see how you go, see what you think of it. And James will try and basically talk you out of it.
I'm going to give him all the worst jobs, and if he still likes it after that, he must be all right.
I'll just say what we are looking for. I don't know whether you can help us with this, Sam, but we're really trying to get a good cameraman. We're trying to get somebody who can turn his hand to a bit of camera work, learn about camera work.
Yeah.
You haven't got to be that good to be better than me, to be quite honest. But, you know, if we could find somebody that could sort of just pick up the camera when there's something interesting going on. Because at the moment, our big problem is that there's so much going on in this place. I mean, look at all this stuff that we've missed here. Look, the plumbing in of these basins and, you know, you did all this, didn't you, James?
Yeah.
So, and the great thing about, I'm not going to, you know, blow smoke up or whatever, but But the great thing about working with James is the variety. You know, James turns his hand to anything, and you know, that way you learn a vast, you know, like chippies come on and they go, wow, I didn't know it could do this, that and the other, you know. So Ian out there, he's a chippy, but he's learning, you know, everything really, isn't he?
Yeah, he's picked up quite a few bits,
Yeah, so it's always good, you know. Obviously at some point in the future you might think, oh, I'll start up on my own and employ a few people and set up in competition to James.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was appealing actually. I did thank you for the videos. I said it earlier, but that's how I obviously found out about you. So it did seem like you do a heck of a lot of different stuff. And so that was a big appeal.
You know, we carefully airbrush out all the hard bits, don't you?
Yeah.
If ever there's any blood spill, we get rid of that and all kinds of other things. And, we make it look a lot prettier than it is sometimes, don't we, James?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's not true. I think actually we don't. We try not to cheat, don't we? We try to give people an
want to be honest about it.
Honest view of what's involved. But,
definitely.
Yeah. No, I mean, quite honestly, mate. If I had my time again, I'd like to work for James for a while and pick up, you know, lots of stuff. It's tremendously useful. You know, it really is. So. Good luck. Let's see if you turn out, and if you do, I'll talk to you about whether you want to become our camera operator as well, because you know it's another skill, isn't it? You know, I don't know whether you've done anything like that.
No, I haven't.
Oh well.
Point and shoot.
Yeah, I did art A level.
Oh, mate.
I think we used the camera in that.
I did economics A level and I'm skint.
Oh, you get on well with Jack the plasterer and Shane, they both did art.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, they came out of art college and they thought, can't make a living out of this. You know, okay, Van Gogh didn't make a living out of it, did he? Picasso did alright. But generally, you know, you can count the number of rich artists on a hand of amputated fingers. So they had to find something else to do, so they got into plastering, and they're bloody good plasterers. I've got to say, they are lovely. They're neat. You know, you can't fault them really.
Best plasterers I know.
Yeah, just getting hold of them is difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good. Okay, I won't delay you, mate. Back to the shoveling.
Thank you.
It's a cruel life.